Hey, everybody, it's Reverend Bill. And tonight is the start of football season. And it probably started, I don't know, probably in the last hour or so. I got it recording, so there's no rush for me. But still, I got to go watch it. So let's get started here. We got a few things to cover. It's going to be an interesting show. So let's get it off. Let's kick it off. So here we go. Share that screen. And we start off with a very interesting one. So there is an Irish comedian, Graham Linehan, I guess. He's done a couple of shows. I guess one is Father Ted, and there's another one that I guess he's done. I'm not really familiar with them. They're from the UK. Apparently, they're very funny. I've not actually seen them yet, but he's a pretty famous Irish comedian, and he actually posts like everyone else on X, formerly Twitter. And he went to go to Heathrow Airport last week. This is very interesting. Now, let me explain how England is. It's a little bit different from the United States. There, the policemen generally do not carry guns. My father, way back when, was a policeman in England. He used to tell me that in order to get a gun, you used to have to sign them out and then sign them back in again. I'm not sure if that's still the same way. Again, this is probably back, I would think, in the 40s, maybe 50s. So things may have changed a little bit, but from what I understand, these were Heathrow Airport policemen. And I know they don't carry guns. I would think the regular policemen on the streets, that may have changed. I don't know. But I do know these policemen do not carry guns. And for this dangerous comedian, they were 5 policemen and they were armed. They did actually make a point of saying that they didn't have to draw their weapons for this dangerous comedian from Ireland who... he was just a comedian. He did again write a couple of shows that were supposed to be very, very good. One of them I do have to watch. I heard it's very good, Father Ted. And he got off, and his offense was that he wrote some tweets that offended transgender people. And they're doing thought policing now in the UK. They did actually arrest someone for making comments the other day as well. So they're actually policing people that write or say things that are inappropriate. And he wrote here, one of his tweets was, if I'll read it out, if trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. This is the one that actually got him arrested. I think he did another one where there was a bunch of trans people that were standing in a crowd, and he wrote a tweet, something like "You can smell them from here" or something like that. And there was a third one that I'm not sure I know what that one was. But those were the ones that got him arrested. So yeah, he got arrested, and then he actually suffered an attack of high blood pressure. They take him to the hospital. His blood pressure had spiked over 200. They wanted to make a point of saying that his life was not threatened as a result of this. But yeah, his crime was they didn't like his tweets, so they arrested him. Now, they also, I guess there was an MP, according to Az. For those of you who are familiar, he's on a blogger. He does a lot of stuff with Gary from Neurotic. And he claimed that an MP had said that now the immigrant population trumps rights over the citizens there. I know that There was another story they were talking about with the fact that Somalians were carrying machetes that was scaring people, and their answer to that was to set up drop boxes in the area for any Somalians that are Muslims that did not want to carry the machetes and were willing to voluntarily drop them off. They could drop them in their drop boxes. That was their answer to machete wielding Muslims, was to have drop boxes put around the city so they could voluntarily turn them in if they wanted to. Sounds to me like the UK has really fallen. I don't know what to make of it when they're arresting people for thought police kind of stuff, and they're not giving their citizens as much rights as their illegal immigrants. I really don't know what to say, and they're arresting people for saying bad things that they don't agree with. Honestly, my thought is Canada will probably be next to go. I think we can write off the UK. I really do. When they're doing stuff like this, and I was actually listening to a bunch of guys on Neurotic that they're kind of plugged into a lot of this stuff, because Az is from the UK, and he's actually had a couple of things censored from them also, and he was talking about it too. And you got to be careful when you're there. And I from what I hear, the UK has gone, and I do think that Canada, the way things are going in Canada might be the next one to go. And I'm sure on their list of countries that they're ticking off, we're somewhere. I don't think we're high on the list, but I got to think somewhere on their list of countries. We got to be there somewhere on their radar. And I know that I think we're gonna fight like hell not to fall. But I don't know. I mean, up until very recently, I thought that we might go, but I think in the last 6 months, certainly since Trump's been in office, we've been fighting back. But we've got to fight all we can so this does not happen to us. I mean, it's sad. It is really sad that these places are actually falling to this. And the thing is, they're always pointing to the right and to conservatives as being the one, but it's not. It's the socialists, it's the communists, the godless states that are doing this. I find out that it's the conservatives, it's the Christians that are actually fighting for our rights, and it's the godless people that are trying to take us and control the way we think and we talk. And it's ironic because throughout history, when they want to draw these dystopian societies, they're always trying to make it out that it's the conservatives that are trying to control thought and speech, and quite the contrary. It's the Christian people that are actually the ones there that are fighting for our rights. And it's the godless people that want to take all our rights to think and talk away. And this is obviously evidence. And the irony is, all the people that are running from Trump, that are running to England, like the Ellen DeGeneres and Robin Wright, and I think Rosie O'Donnell took off, and all those people, the godless people, are there, and they're writing back going, oh my God, this is heaven. Robin Wright just finished writing, she'll never want to come back here because she's found her niche. They love it there because they're in the land of the freaks. They think this is the greatest thing in the world. If you come out against, gay marriage, they'll throw you in jail. They think it's the greatest thing in the world. You talk out against transgender, this is what happens. You get arrested. And they think this is heaven to them. And it's our worst nightmare. It's, as free thinkers, it's the worst thing we can possibly think of, and they're finding their heaven. I hope they stay there then. I mean, seriously, if that's their idea of paradise, they can have it. All right, moving along. Geez, what else we got here? Caught Stealing. Got the movie review for you. I did see Caught Stealing. It's directed by Darren Aronofsky, got through that name okay. It's those Oriental names that drive me nuts. Which is funny because they actually have the best horror movies. So I those names though, they kill me. But anyway, this one I got through. Darren Aronofsky. He actually did a couple of really good movies. If you haven't seen Requiem for a Dream, that was a very, very good movie. It's a heavy duty movie though. It's not for the family, and it is intense. But if you don't mind a little bit of shock value, definitely recommend that movie. This is not as intense. This is actually a movie that it's like a roller coaster. It never stops. It's not nearly as good, but it's similar to the way that it never stops, like Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction's like always going, always going. This is not nearly as good, but it's the same kind of thing. If you get a weak bladder like myself, I've got a bladder like a pregnant woman. I'm always good for 2 or 3 times with a 2.5 hour movie. I'm at least 2 times going to the bathroom. And I was telling my wife, she went with me, and I said, usually when I go to a movie, I usually wait for a lovemaking scene. Unless it's someone like really hot, like Sydney Sweeney, then I'll stay, because, hey, I'm a man. But generally speaking, with it's just an average looking woman, I mean, I've seen women before. If it's just an average looking woman, I'll just go to the restaurant. I've seen breasts before. But like I said, unless it's like Sydney Sweeney, then, I'm not going to miss that. But generally speaking, because they're long and it's who cares? I've seen naked women. I'll go to the restroom and then, chances are I'll go there and I'll come back and it's still on and whatever. But with this movie, I knew that no matter how quick I was, I knew when I'm going to leave, this person's going to be. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say this person's going to be, walking to the store. I knew the chances are when I'm going to come back, he's probably going to be with someone else in a completely different scene that's completely different than anything I saw before, because the movie's just that crazy. And sure enough, the guy's doing A, and I went to the bathroom. He's within a completely just different situation, doing something completely unrelated to someone I didn't even know. And I knew that because that was the risk of going to the bathroom. Everything in this movie is just so quickly moving. I knew he would be in a situation with someone I never met before, doing something I had no idea what was going on. And I just accepted it, because turning around to my wife and going, what did I miss, was just going to be futile, because I knew I missed a whole bunch of stuff, because everything in this movie is just boom, boom, boom. So I just sit down and just accepted the fact I was lost, and I'll pick it up on the way. And the same thing with the other trip to the bathroom. I knew if I was going to be gone for 3 minutes, I was going to come back and I'd be completely lost again. I accepted it, which is fine. And no big deal, because, the movie is so fast paced, you pick it up very quickly anyway. So yeah, it's a fast paced movie. It's not going to save the whales. It's harmless. It's, it is what it is, which is if you look for flaws in the movie, there's plenty. It's just a popcorn movie. I'm surprised you didn't see Samuel L. Jackson, in it. He loves being on all those popcorn movies. He's not in it. It is Austin Butler. I'm indifferent to him. I at least with Austin Butler, he's obviously some kind of a sex symbol for girls, which is fine. At least I get that. I still don't get the Timothée Chalamet, who looks like a gust of wind would blow him away. I don't know what women see in him. He looks to me like the guy that all girls would ignore at a party, but I guess he's a sex symbol for some reason. I don't know. At least with Austin Butler, he looks like a guy that could run, 2 miles without collapsing. He looks like a guy at least. So yeah, he's in there, and he's I guess girl candy. And we got Zoe Kravitz, who's not much eye candy for guys, but whatever. She's okay. I actually think she's okay. She's not much to look at, but I think as an actress, she's fine. I kind of like her. You got what's her name? Matt Smith. You got Bad Bunny. I don't know why he's in the movie. What else? You got a bunch of cameos. You got cameos with Vincent D'Onofrio. I can't even pronounce his name. D'Onofrio, Kingpin from Daredevil. What else? What is that woman I do not like? Can't think of her name right now. That woman, oh, come on. I don't just sit here and bore you all day trying to think of her name. Wait a minute. I think I got it right here. Oh, hold on. Regina King. Yeah, Regina King. Don't like Regina King. She's always calling racism over everything, but she's in it. She's okay. She plays a detective. And yeah, all in all, I would give this movie probably about a 7.2, 7.3. It's not to be taken too seriously. It's a lot of action. I mean, it is what it is. I hesitate to call it a comedy. It's got comedic moments. It's mostly an action film. So if you want to go watch a movie and not take it too seriously, that's fine. You could easily catch it on cable if you wanted to. The thing is, they have this discount on Tuesdays for $6. So I went and I saw it for $6. So if you want to go do that, that's fine. Liv Schreiber is in it as well too. So yeah, I mean, if you want to see a bunch of people doing cameos, there's a lot of violence in it. I wouldn't take your kids, but all in all, not a bad movie. But yeah, Darren's done better work. But all in all, it's fine. Weapons I would say, is still out there. It's actually doing very well box office wise. It's I think it was 6 times its budget. Now that's a movie that actually makes money, as opposed to Superman, which is probably barely breaking even, and the Fantastic Four, which probably has not even broken even. Something like Weapons, that's a cash cow. That's really done very, very well. So interesting. I don't see how they're going to do any kind of a sequel to that movie, though. Although if they can, I'm sure they will. But anyway, moving along. This is something that really, really drives me nuts. So let me vent for a second here. This is Dear Abby. Really quickly, you can read it if you want. It's basically a freshman. So she's probably, depending on the year, we'll say 14. She could be 13, depending on that. But it's a girl. She's a freshman. And she's writing to Dear Abby because she said she's living with her step parents. And she's starting to have feelings of being a lesbian. And she's got a friend that I guess she's her partner. She's told her step parents, who she says are great, but they're Christian and they don't agree with her lifestyle. So they have isolated her and they've homeschooled her to keep her away from school. And she's written to Dear Abby and says that her parents say she cannot be a Christian and a lesbian. And Dear Abby says, oh, they're wrong. Of course you can be a lesbian and a Christian. And she mentions Episcopalians and Presbyterians and Methodists. And she says, basically, ignore your parents. You can be a Christian and a lesbian. Now, I'm a minister, and I got very angry at this for a number of reasons. First of all, that she's wrong. Okay, I'm a minister, and I will tell you right now, there's a million, it's all in the Bible. I'm not even going to bother going through the Bible and mentioning all the passages that says over and over again in the Old Testament and New Testament that homosexual relations are bad. It says over and over and over again. There's no doubt that homosexuality is forbidden in the Bible. Now, there is some thought in some churches that the world has changed and that you have to interpret the Bible differently. And my answer to that is hogwash. The world has not changed. If people want to sit down and reinterpret the Bible, that is a sin. I actually have talked to Christ, and you may or may not believe that it is true. And he has told me to spread the word. The Bible has not changed. Now, that is true, whether you believe it or not, that I have talked to Christ and he has told me to spread the word that the Bible has not changed is irrelevant, whether you believe it or not. But whether you believe me telling you that or not, the Bible has not changed. God has not sat down and asked anyone to change the Bible. Whether you believe my word or not, that God has told me to remind you that, the reminder doesn't matter. The fact is the Bible has not changed. Now, you don't need my reminder to let you know the Bible has not changed. The Bible hasn't changed, whether you believe that message or not. The fact is the Bible hasn't changed. Now, why would anyone say that the Bible should be changed? That's just a person sitting down and saying, I am giving in to social pressures and I don't want people being angry at me, so I'm going to reinterpret the Bible. That is the weakness of the person. The Bible has not changed. The Lord has not asked for anyone to reinterpret the Bible. The Bible is the Bible, and the Bible will always be the Bible. The Bible has not changed. The Bible will always say what the Bible says. So if other people want to reinterpret that, that's their weakness. Homosexual behavior is never going to be okay. And I don't care if the Pope himself says it's okay. That's the Pope saying it's okay. The Bible says it's not okay. That's my first point. Now, my second point is I looked up who writes for Dear Abby because I want to find out who is giving a Christian advice. And I found out that the person is Jean Phillips, who's Jewish, by the way. She is Jewish, which I suspected. Now, let me tell you something. I have been to Israel. I have walked where Jesus walked. I have seen Jesus's tomb. I've been to all the places where Joseph grew up, and I've seen all the sacred places. I'm not going to get into all the places. I've been with Mary Magdalene and all. I sat with the scribes and the rabbis, and I've talked to them, and I have talked to all the holy men there, and I realized how important their religion is. I've been to the Wailing Wall, and I put petitions in there. I've talked to a lot of very important, people, and I know how important their religion is to them. And I've learned about the Sabbath elevators, and they've talked to me and they've explained things to me. I know how serious they are about their religion. And I also know Jews that like to eat pork anytime they feel like it. And I know Jews that don't celebrate Yom Kippur or the Passover, and they do whatever they want to do, and they call themselves Jews. And I know the Jews that are very serious and would never do anything on their Sabbath. They wouldn't even press a button on an elevator on the Sabbath. And if a little boy came to me and said, can I still be a Jew and eat pork and miss the Sabbath and still call myself a Jew, knowing that Jews do that? I would not say anything, because although I know Jews that eat pork and bacon on the Sabbath, and I know Jews that go to strip clubs on Passover and enjoy themselves and call themselves Jews, I am not fit to give advice on Judaism to other Jews, because I am not a Jew. I am a Christian minister, and I would not pretend to give advice about something that is not in my wheelhouse. I will talk to Christians, and I will talk to them about what the laws of a Christian is, but I will not talk to a Jew. That is not my place. And I will let rabbis talk to young Jewish children about what they should and should not do, because I know my place. And I really wish that Jean Phillips would not talk to lesbian Christians about Christianity, please. Why is she giving a Christian advice? Why is a Jew giving Christian advice to a Christian lesbian? about what Christians should do? Why doesn't she advise them to go to a minister? Why? I would really like to know what gives her the right to give Christians Christian advice about homosexuality. Why? I'm absolutely livid. Because this is a soul that she's advising, and she feels qualified to give Christian advice, being a Jew. I'm absolutely sick over this. Gene Phillips, stay in your lane. Tell them to go visit their Christian minister or their priest. Unbelievable. Anyway, this I found interesting. I'm sorry, that really gets me upset. All right, this is kind of an interesting thing. I'm talking to a new AI now, Claude. I find out that when I'm talking to AIs, a lot of times when I find a good one, and before the liberals get to it and change it, I can get into an interesting discussion with it. And this doubles back to something I was saying to you the other day. We were talking about, I'm trying to think how we got into this subject. I think we were talking about witchcraft and how Jesus doesn't actually talk about witchcraft or sorcery. He talks more about the demons, which is the source. And Claude came back, and I think inadvertently touched on something that we touched on the other week. And he mentioned that it was interesting that when he talks about the demons, rather than when he talks about, instead of talking about sorcery and witchcraft, he talks about the demons, the source of it. And he mentions that instead of talking about what they do, they talk about the source. And he mentions that because there's only really two sources, there's God and the demons. That's kind of what I was telling you about before last time, how when you talk about rabbit's foots and Ouija boards, there's only really two sources of power in the universe, and that is God and the devil. And everything really goes back to those two sources. It was funny I brought this up because Claude actually brought that up. And this is what he said. He actually brought this up himself. And he goes, well, when Jesus talks about the Spirit of God versus Beelzebub is the second in command next to Lucifer. And he mentions in Matthew 12, it's kind of interesting when you get the AI to start talking to you. He essentially establishes the two opposing kingdoms of sources. This is him mentioning, in other words, the two sources of supreme powers, which I mentioned to you the other day. He brings that up. There's only two power sources, and that's God and basically Satan. And he says it's more important than actually addressing sorcery or witchcraft. You're actually mentioning the two fundamental sources of good and bad. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I got that. I'm like, oh, wow. Claude actually mentioned the same thing that I mentioned the other day. Instead of talking about witchcraft, and God's powers, he mentions just the sources when he talks, which is, demons and God. So I thought it was pretty interesting. It's like, yeah, actually, that is pretty interesting. But yeah. But I mean, getting back to what I was saying, though, kind of when I talk about my experiences into, might as well close this up now. That's pretty much all I wanted to say as far as that goes. And I'll get into, just closing this up, I wanted to say something else too. But getting back to what I was saying to wrap this up is when I was talking about my experiences as far as fighting the demons and witchcraft, make no mistake about it. If you believe in the Bible, and you should, there is mention of witchcraft and demons and things I've been mentioning you all the way through the Bible. I mean, what's what demon possession is? Make no mistake about it. A lot of these witches, they take demons in for more power. So when I talk about witches, there is every possibility that these witches have taken in demons willfully. Not all possessions are the possessions like you see in The Exorcist, whereby a child is playing with a Ouija board and the demon enters the child um, forcibly, or invades or tricks the child into taking the demon. Those do exist. Those absolutely do exist, where the demon tricks or cons their way into a child or a person inadvertently. But then there's the other possession where a witch invites a demon in to get more power. So that they're not all possessions are intrusive. So when you do, you do hear about witches, especially powerful witches, those are also a lot of times possessions, especially when you're dealing with witches with a lot of physical power. Um, so, again, when I talk about witches that I battle or I have battled or I continue to battle, um, they're not all just people, with these that you think that they've just gotten powers, or think, oh, people can't do that. People can't wield power. Then they're not necessarily just people. They are people that have taken in demons as well. And if you find that hard to believe, well, just pick up your Bible, or do you believe in possession? And you should, because possession is pretty much all the way through history. And if you don't believe in possession, or you don't believe in magic or evil spirits, you're pretty much whistling past the graveyard, because it is kind of all around you. And if you look at your rock stars, your movie, or your rock stars and your movie stars, they're pretty much flaunting it at you right now. Sam Smith, Beyonce. Christian Bale. You think he was joking when he thanked Satan for his Oscar? You think it's a joke that they're all, or you think it was a joke when Katy Perry said she sold her soul to Satan and laughed? Do you think that was really just a joke? She was probably laughing, trying to. She was laughing all right because it was true. You think these stars carry crystals in their bag because they're fooling you? Then those crystals, they have evil powers to them. They're not just pulling a joke on you. You think they do it to be cute? Seriously. Lana Del Rey, Azealia Banks, Jennifer Lopez. You think they're all doing this for jokes? You think she's slaughtering these rabbits and for her ex-husband, just for fun? It's a little bit extreme just for a joke, guys. Really, seriously. No, these things do happen and they are real. And if you don't believe them, you're only fooling yourself. But anyway, that's it. That's it for now. I got a football game to watch. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like it, come back again, and we'll try again next time, huh? Anyway, this is Reverend Bill signing off, and catch you again next time. Take care. God bless everybody.